Okay, so this is the sales process. So quick reminders before I get started. Look. Well, I'm looking at it backwards. Okay, well, I'm looking at it backwards. But we are deal finders, not deal makers. So the reason that's important is because we don't want to push it. Just timing and circumstance. We happen to call it the right time, and they're going through stuff. It was the right circumstance, right timing, and it's a match. But that's why we want to move quickly on these. So 90% of the people don't want to sell to us, and that's okay. So that's why we gotta move quickly on these leads. If you sense through tonality, through what they're saying, that they don't want to sell at all, then yeah, that's not a lead you should send. But if there's some kind of motivation there, then yes, send it, but dig deeper. And the way you dig deeper is through the sales process. So this is it. So the overall theme is the why, right? We want to know why. Throughout the whole conversation, we want to know why they're selling. And the best way to open the conversation is to talk about condition, because that's the easiest, and people love to sell you on their home, and they're gonna tell you that they changed the roof 3 years ago and the AC is working fine, and all you gotta do is ask open-ended questions that will allow them to expand on their property, and they'll start talking, they'll start chattering, and so your end goal on condition is this. Sounds like a nice property, why you're selling? Or sounds like you've been keeping up with the property, why you're considering selling? So it's a very natural transition after they're selling you on the condition of the property. And again, it's in alignment with our why. We want to know why they're selling. Okay, so immediately after this, you want to go into timeline to sell, right? This should be congruent with that condition of the property, because if in the condition of the property they're telling you that it's beat up, that the roof is caving in, and they're looking to sell it ASAP, when you ask about timeline, so what's your timeline for this? Are you looking to sell it in the next week or the next month, or can you wait, or I can sell it next year? That's not congruent. Well, the place is in shambles, and why do you want to wait until next year? So just call them out on that. Tell them, hey, if you can, I'm confused. So here's how you put it on you. You're confused. You don't understand. So I'm confused. I don't understand. The roof is caving in, and you want to sell until next year. That doesn't make sense. Most people don't want to deal with a roof caving in, and you want to get rid of that problem ASAP. So you tell them this is how you discard them or you fire them. Why don't you list it with the realtor if you can wait that long? Even if it's 3 months, that's a long time, because 3 months, that means they can wait for it. So why don't you list it? So what's your timeline to sell? Yeah, I'm not in a rush. A lot of people are going to say that, so pay attention to that. I'm not in a rush. I can wait. I just want to get the right price. Oh, well, why don't you list it with your realtor? They can get you more money. And in the previous video, we cover what we offer, right? Speed and convenience. That's our product. So depending on what they say here, listing it with the realtor, then if they say, oh yeah, great idea. Okay, bye. You're done, right? You're done. Move on. Next. Move on quickly. Next. Now, if they say, well, I need to sell it next week or yesterday, if I could, that's what you want to hear. Yesterday. Okay, great. And then you move into the money part. It's a very easy transition, because you're talking about timeline. You already discussed condition. So these are incongruencies. So the last one you want to check for congruency is the money part. So I want to sell tomorrow. Okay, great. And what's your asking price? So more or less, what's your price point? What's your range of acceptable, an acceptable offer? However you want to word it, but you want to ask them about money, right? How much are you asking for this property? Okay, and then text for flexibility. Whatever they tell you, if they tell you 100, always go down 10,000 below and test for flexibility. Okay, so let's just say, and how much were you looking to get for the property, ma'am or sir? I was thinking about 100,000. Or if they tell you 100,000, so tell them, oh, okay, so about 90 to 100. Now, if they don't correct you, that means they're flexible, right? If you say, oh, okay, so about 90 to 100,000, and they say, yeah, about there, they're flexible. And so this flexibility should be in alignment with their timeline to sell, right? They should be wanting to sell quickly, and that should be in alignment with the condition of the property. The condition of the property should be somewhat bad unless there's something else going on. The property could be nice, but why do they want to move out so quickly? Maybe they're going through a divorce. Maybe, I don't know, right? But whatever the timeline to sell should be congruent with the money part, because if they're not flexible here, it's not incongruent. If they're not flexible on the money, that means that they're lying somewhere along the line. But if they're flexible here and they're looking to sell ASAP, that's great. That's what you want. That's what you want. But if they're rigid on their price, on 100,000, for example, if they say, oh, okay, so about 90 to 100,000. No, I said 100,000, and they're rigid. They're holding you to that. So you tell them it's not gonna work. Just fire them and tell them, hey, it's not gonna work, Mr. Seller. And refer back to the other video. We need a little room. Leave us a little meat on the bone so we can make some money. It's not gonna work at 100,000. We can't pay you that much. And you just be quiet. Just leave it at that. And here's the thing. Throughout the whole conversation, this is a very quick overview of the main points you should be touching on. But whether you're talking about condition, timeline to sell, or money, throughout the whole conversation, you want to listen, and you want to listen for what they're telling you, and you want to listen for the message behind the message and comment on that. So, for example, what do I mean by the message behind the message? So, if they're making a comment about the neighbor selling their house, let's say we're talking about this house for 100,000, and the neighbor just sold their house for 200,000, and the neighbor just sold. So that the message behind the message is, I should be able to get close to 200,000, right? So call them on that. So if they say, well, my neighbor, they just sold their house for 200,000. Now they haven't said, I want 200,000, but the message behind the message is, hey, I would like to get 200,000. My neighbor seems to be selling. So just kill it right then and there. Just tell them, oh, and are you expecting to get close to what your neighbor is getting? Well, no, or yes, or depending on what's going on here. If they're telling you the condition is bad, they shouldn't tell you that they're expecting to get what the neighbor just got for a nice fixed up home that's up to date with 2021 standards. Does that make sense? So you want to touch on these points on every call. They don't have to be in this order. If you start with money, for some reason you start the conversation with money. Well, how much would you offer? They open like this. Hey, calling to see if you will consider a cash offer on your house. How much would you offer? The best and honest answer is, I don't know. I don't know what I would offer, Mr. Seller. May I ask a couple of questions to see if we can do business, if we're a fit? If they say no, kill it. Man, those people, they're not serious. Because somebody who wants to sell is going to say, well, yeah, sure. What kind of questions do you have? It's unreasonable to think that you're going to make an offer if you have no information, especially on a house. So if you happen to start the money part, how much would you offer? Or I want 100,000 for my house. If you can give me less than 100,000, don't even bother me. So test it. Okay, so now you're starting the conversation here. Okay, so about 90 to 100,000. No, I said 100,000. Boom, fire. It's not gonna work, and you fire them, right? But if they're flexible, then you continue on. Yeah, about 90. Okay, so they're flexible, and then you start at condition. Okay, so can you tell me how old the roof is? When was the last time you remodeled the kitchen? And you go on and you pay attention. Hey, sounds like a nice property. Well, why are you looking to sell? What's got you moving? Timeline to sell. When would you like to see this happen? Next 3 weeks or so. Oh, 3 weeks. Okay, that's good. 3 weeks is reasonable. Okay, great. And you want to the money part. So when you touch these points and you find out the why, then that's going to be a much qualified lead that you can send. But if you don't see that on the calls, don't send it. It's not a good lead. We're just going to waste our time here. So it's going to make our jobs easier. It's going to make your job easier. And again, make sure you watch this video as many times as you can until you have those down. It's really 3 simple ideas: timeline to sell, conditioning, money. And the whole time you're thinking, why do you want to sell? Why do you want to sell? And that's why you're firing them along the line. You're firing them at the condition side. You're firing them by telling them, hey, sounds like a nice property. Why do you want to sell? If they say, well, I don't want to sell, you call me. Right? We're done, right? But if they do want to sell, great. What's your timeline, right? And if they want to take forever, you fire them right there. Hey, list it with the realtor. right? And on the money side, if they're not flexible, it's not going to work, right? You're not flexible. We need somebody flexible. So those are your 3 outs on each question, how you should be firing them. And the whole time be thinking why, and the message behind the message. Make sure you address that to get to the why. And remember, we're deal finders, not deal makers, and just don't spend a lot of time on these people that don't want to sell, especially if they open with bad tonality. Hey, Mr. Seller, hi, this is Sheila. I'm calling to see if you're interested in cash. By the way, I don't know how you guys open because you're doing cold calls. I'm interested to know that. Let's find out what works. There is no right answer to this, but let's find out what works. Because we need to, once we find something that works, we all need to open the same way. Whether it's, are you open to a cash offer? Do you want to sell? Or I don't know what you guys are using, but let me know what you're using and what kind of results are you getting. The hardest thing is the opening. Once they start opening up, they start telling you about their property, then you go through this process and it's very easy to qualify them. And if they meet these 3 points, then you send a lead. And that's really all we're asking you to do. Let me know if you have any questions. Bye.